So if the conversation is shifted, then mental health is shifted. It is not a diagnosis of ADHD, autism, schizophrenia, depression. We're not going by that anymore. But there's another big label, generational labels. This is the anxious generation. This is the thinks they know everything generation. This is the doesn't want to work generation, doesn't want to be lazy generation. Excuse my language, who the hell are you guys to decide that? Why is your phone in their room at 2 a.m.? Where are these adults who, like, it makes me so angry. Aren't you the parent? So if your kid's an alcoholic and is doing drugs, you're just going to say, oh, he's going to act out and I'm scared of it.
Welcome to the Uncover Your Eyes podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Meenal Agarwal. If you haven't already hit the follow or subscribe button, please do so. Let us know you're listening. It helps us bring you better episodes weekly. Childhood and adolescence is nothing today like it was 10 to 15 years ago. Between social media, identity pressures, and an overwhelming world, kids are facing challenges previous generations couldn't have imagined. Rates of anxiety and depression in children and teens have climbed dramatically. Parents everywhere are asking, how do I support my child's mental health in this new world? Today, we're joined by Dr. Zabina Bhasin, a child psychiatrist and founder of Listen to the Kids. If you've ever wondered about your child spending too much time online, withdrawing from conversations, or just not seeming like themselves, this conversation is for you. Thank you, Dr. Z, for being on today. So tell me, how has childhood, how has it changed? I mean, it definitely has changed over the last, 10, 15 years. How has it changed?
Do you want me to tell you honestly? 15 years ago, we were worried. I'm going to say myself, I'm 47 years old, right? Still 15 years, I was older. But let's say we do go back. We were worried about grades. I was worried about, am I making the varsity team for basketball? Am I, peer pressure. There was peer pressure, there was a little bit of bullying. I mean, not a little bit, there probably was a lot, but extracurricular stuff. Not getting caught by my parents that I actually was talking to a boy. Who was calling on the phone, those were the things that we worried about. Did my mom find out I watched Beverly Hills 90210 and I wasn't supposed to watch Melrose Place? Have I gotten my homework done? And different families for different things, there was still kids who were worried about, work, finding jobs, paying their bills. Like those kinds of things are still there, but it has now carried our youth into a whole different platform, and it's technology. And I'm not going to say it's just social media because, and people hear me say this, they're like, oh, you want kids on technology. You want them. No, that is not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is we've got to give them boundaries. We've got to give them knowledge. We've got to give them guidance. I think 24/7, we have exposure to something all the time, and we're in comparison mode all the time. And we're in, my adult doesn't listen to me, so I'm going to talk to a computer. That has shifted. The conversation has shifted. So if the conversation is shifted, then mental health is shifted. It is not a diagnosis of ADHD, autism, schizophrenia, depression. We're not going by that anymore. Mental health is shifted to, it's not just these things, it's teaching them digital literacy, boundary setting, how to build your own identity, be authentic to yourself and not look at somebody else and say, I have to be like them. Not wear the same clothes everybody else wears. Not compare yourself to say, I am a dark-skinned person and I need to be a light-skinned person or vice versa. It's stop looking at the outside world and start looking in. That's the shift we've had. Because everything is about the outside world and we have forgotten about the inside world. That is the 15-year shift with everything else that the kids have to put on their plate.
So, you talked about your authentic self. And, I feel we are labeled so often now. I mean, every kid that comes to see me,
Mhm.
it's a diagnosis of something pending. And, nobody really even knows if the label is correct. But why are we, I'm sure many of us had all of those labels, but we were never labeled. And do you feel there's a fault in this labeling versus embracing the differences, in everyone, I want to call it?
First, we were labeled. I want to say that, okay? You were the smart kid, you were the dumb kid, you were the non-athletic kid. The labels were different, but they were labeled. Okay? I had dyslexia and I had two high achieving South Asian parents. I had three brothers who were straight A students, but I couldn't read. So guess what I was labeled? I was, in Punjabi we say the unpad. Like I didn't want to study. I didn't want to do anything. I was the one who just was lazy. But no one actually asked me. But there was a label, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Now there's a technical medical label that we've created, right? Okay, as physicians, maybe as society, ADHD, autism, I can name a lot of them. But there's another big label, generational labels. This is the anxious generation. This is the thinks they know everything generation. This is the doesn't want to work generation, doesn't want to be lazy generation. Excuse my language, who the hell are you guys to decide that? Who is anyone to decide what the generation is? Has anyone sat down and talked to the generation? Every demographic, every demographic, every every culture, every home, every situation is different. You cannot labelize a generation to be anxious or to be dumb or to be lazy or to be. You have no idea what's going on in each household. And are we creating the names for these generations so now they believe it? If you tell a lie often enough, people will believe it.
So this is a societal issue
I
then.
agree. Yes, I do think it is. Because when you read something or you hear something or you now put it on social media, the adult or the parent or the teacher or the mentor or the coach is going to be like, oh, see, that's the problem. I'm sorry. Why are we creating a behavioral problem when it could be a medical problem? It could be a psychiatric problem. It could be a brain issue. It also could just be someone needs to talk to this generation. I take it back. Someone needs to listen to this generation and multiple generations. I'm not just talking about the millennials and the Gen Zs. We have a whole Gen Alpha. We have a Gen Beta coming up soon. Like it's
Can't
not
keep track of
starting,
it.
people. Like we gotta start. And why do we have to? Who are we to determine their thought process is wrong? I literally just had this conversation today. I was at a Pilates. I was doing Pilates this morning, and my Pilates instructor had a young lady come in who just was asking me, obviously you and I understand that when we're doctors, people ask us a lot of questions, and you don't want to give diagnoses because you don't know the patient. And I said, like there's multiple things we could think about, but one of the things I do really want you to think about is have you sat down with your son and asked him what he wants and what he's feeling? I get it. He's 7 or 8 years old, but they have voices. And it was funny because my Pilates instructor, who I've known for 10 years, goes, why does this generation think they have to have it like their way and the right way? And I said, why do you think you have to have it your way and the right way? Why do you have an expectation? If we have an expectation, then we're creating failure.
Mm-hmm.
We have an expectation that this generation is supposed to do something a certain way. Who are we to have that expectation? Because if you expect it, it's going to not happen. I'm letting you all know that. Do not expect it.
Mm-hmm.
And so I told his mother, I said, sit down with him, have the conversation, and then figure out like go to someone who can say, is it behavior? Is it educational? Is it brain development? Is it synaptic? Is it his neurons? Because it could be his brain telling him to do something when you're telling him to say something else.
So do you think the biggest issue is the lack of communication between, besides society, I should say,
Right.
the lack of communication between parents and kids. When you see kids in
1,000%.
office, that is the biggest issue.
1,000%. Yes. Because they are adults, and I don't also want to say just parents, because I really have to put this in. I have such love and respect for teachers. My mom was a teacher for a long, long time, and she was a special education teacher. So I have a lot of love for that. And they don't have the resources to help these kids that need the help. But nobody wants to hear them. They want them to do things their way. Everybody has an expectation. This is my child. This is what you need to do, and this is how you have to do it. I'm sorry. I didn't know they were a dog.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know we had to do Pavlov's law for children now. And this is why I say stop saying we're raising kids. Don't say that, because you're not raising flock. You're not raising. You're
Yeah, yeah.
guiding a human being to be a human being.
So do you think teachers play a role in this? Like, I always think
1,000%.
about this, and I have to say, Dr. Z, that my son has had the same teacher for many years, 4 years. Like, it just happened that teacher got
Love
moved and
that.
he ended up with, yeah, it was an awkward chance. And this teacher is phenomenal. I'm going to say I truly believe that he is the human and the kind and great kid that he is because of this teacher. I mean, and I've thanked her for that. And I always say that kids are with their teachers even longer in a day, 5 days a week, than they are with us. So do you think that the way children could be potentially, or acting out, or whatever the situation is, can be not only the issue that your parents are not communicating with you, but that the way the teacher is? Like, are teachers really raising children then, and possibly creating an anxious generation in some way if they're giving that anxiety there?
So again, I don't want to put a label on it, but yes, and I don't think teachers are raising anyone. I think they're guiding. We have to change our way of wording. Nobody's raising anything in this world. Stop. I
Right.
really want to put that emphasis that we are not raising anything. If you're raising something, go to a farm and find animals. Sorry, I'm not trying to be mean. Okay, my dad raised farm animals, so I can tell you. And I think we have to change our, first of all, our wording to what we're saying. Let's start with that. Okay, if you have an expectation for your children to change their words, then you need to change your words, right?
Mhm.
Yes, teachers are guiding our children. Okay, and I have to say, yes, if you find, now again, first of all, no, my niece is a teacher, my mom was a teacher, my sister-in-law is a child psychologist in schools who works with kids. My older brother does, work in the school districts. So, like, we have a family of educators, so they do a lot of work. First of all, I have to say that they are not equipped for guiding these children in that way. They should be educators. That is what their job is. But the pressure is so much put on them that in the ones that need some of the behavioral help or something going on, they need a little bit. I think we need to take all of the politics and religion out of our schools and do education. Okay? Because that is a guidance process, right? We do need to teach empathy in school. We do need to teach kindness at school. You're at work for 8 to 10 hours a day. I'm at work for, everybody I'm around is going to affect who my personality is, who I am, what I become. I'm going to say the same thing. My son this year is having some, struggles. His teacher is fantastic. We're working on things with him at school. We're working on things with him at home. She's the one suggesting me things. I had a conversation with him today. He's having some difficulty in something. I said to him, we have to work together. Teachers, coaches. I mean, my basketball coach was my biggest advocate in life. My English teacher was the one who found out I had dyslexia in 7th grade. If these people were not in my life, I would not be who I am today.
Yeah.
So yes, these teachers and these coaches and everyone within, there's school psychologists who make such a difference in children's lives. There's mental health workers in schools. There's principals. But we have to give them grace, and those teachers have to give the students grace. I've heard teachers say, oh, this is the worst generation. They can't read. When you talk about a student, look at the school they're in, look at the demographic they're in, look at what year they were born. Have they been affected by COVID? Were their parents working 2 jobs while they're like, stop blaming and shaming the kid who doesn't have control over any of this. You are the teacher, you are the adult who is the parent, and you're the one who is blaming them? I'm sorry, my 7-year-old doesn't know how to read is not his fault. It is
Yeah.
the adult's fault in their lives. And I mean, we all see this. We have so many patients that come to psychiatric offices and psychological offices and says, "Oh, here's my child. He's got this problem. Fix it." I'm sorry. I am not. I'm sorry. If I could fix that, I would. It'd be great. I need you to be involved in helping this child. You need to be part of this situation.
Yeah.
What are we gonna do? That's what the thing is.
It takes a village. I mean, essentially, it takes a village. So it's not just parents, but there's every aspect of it. So communication is key. How do we help our children? We talk a lot about emotional, regulation and how they can emotionally kind of balance their emotions. How does that work?
Okay, so it's different for different ages, right? Like I can't tell you, hey, a teenager, let's start emotional regulation, right?
Hmm.
But I do want to go back to our words. Vocabulary is the biggest power in this. Okay, you have to model it, and I guess I've said this before and how to. You've got to model it yourself as adults. If you're not regulating your emotions through breathing, through movement, through communication, I'm sorry, your kids aren't learning anything. That's going to be impossible for them too.
Hmm.
I'm being honest. You have to model what they want. Uh, I read God, I have to remember, it was at Stanford or it was one of the Ivy League colleges did a report on emotional regulation of adults, right? Young adults, like young youth between the ages of 21 to 27, as brain development is in its final stages, right?
Right.
And they saw more young youth go to their parents to discuss their feelings than they did within their own peer groups because they want to know what their parents are still doing and how they react and act. Our children will mimic us and model us till they become fully grown, brain developed adults. What you say, what you do, how you act, how you react, and how you also give them guidance and advice will be then transferred down to when they have their own children. It's not impossible.
Hmm.
The mind body practice, like all the things that we do, like journaling, physical activity, all of that comes from what they see. If you're breathing, if you're saying, I'm fine, if you're saying I'm angry, if you're using your vocabulary, they will do the same. Now, I do want to tell you some differences though. Okay. Boys and girls are different.
Okay.
There is a difference. Okay. So girls often are encouraged to express their emotions, right? Very normally. Sometimes it overburdens them with empathy. We're the caretakers, right? We've kind of guided our girls to be that. No, it's just how we're telling them, don't suppress it. Talk about your feelings. The boys is the be tough messaging. Boys don't cry. Boys don't do this. So where's the balance in that now? Where do boys get to feel safe? Where do they get to feel that they have the tools to regulate? Why is it okay for us to do that difference with them? That's one thing we have to change, right? In the emotional regulation space. While you're watching what the adults are doing, you have to make sure you're showing that there is no difference in that because it's still there. It's very
Right.
much there. Um, we also have to normalize that it's okay to feel a way. We have to let them break their big stressors. If they're angry, let them scream and yell. If they want to shout, I bought my daughter that that it plays music while you hit the thing. I was like,
Oh,
on social media, I'm like, this is perfect because I used to tell them like, if you're angry and you want to go scream, just go outside and scream. I don't care. But then she needed something, to do that. And then you teach them grounding techniques from that point. What are we trying to release? Now are you open to a conversation? And you got to keep consistent routines with them in these emotional regulation conversations. You have to, and this goes back to not communication, it goes back to listening to them,
okay.
not talking. Be quiet, be unjudgmental, and just listen. We're a society of we're a very extremely judgmental society. I don't care if you're
Story of my life.
right. And we overwhelm ourselves by being like, oh, you don't want to be like that. Oh, you don't want to do, you want to fix it. You want to fix the problem very quickly. But how are they going to learn to talk about their emotions if we're fixing it constantly? So, in every aspect, you have to be a good listener for them to be a good listener. There's multiple steps that we take to be a good listener, and I have all of them, and I write them all the time. But I always tell adults one of the things is, and you'll understand this because kids really won't. Be your own talk show host. Be Oprah. She let her guests speak. That's the point. That's how the message came out. So parents, be your own talk show host. Let your kids have a platform. That's
It's
what
so interesting because I speak to my kids at night. They love the nighttime talk, family talk. So we all go into one bedroom and we all talk. But sometimes I'll be on my phone and it's funny because my eldest will now say to me, and like I'm very observant about it now. He kind of makes me nervous because if I pull out my phone to check something, he'll go, "So you're just gonna be on your phone?" And I'm like, "Okay, put it away." So it's like he's the adult in the room, right? But
right.
it's interesting, like, that they know this is time for us to talk and for us to communicate, and you've now overstepped that boundary, mom,
Yep.
by letting your phone take over.
Yeah.
So that was interesting.
Yeah. And I'm so excited that he said that
Yeah.
because he's actually letting you know that that's not appropriate. I've gotten it because my daughter will be like, "So you're on your phone? Does that mean I get to go on my phone?" I'm like, "Okay, sorry."
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
they also know they're like, if you're working, mom,
Yeah.
you should be in the office because we've made it like if mom needs to be on her phone and she's working, then she shouldn't be in the household space, which is what we're trying to create that boundary of, you know. So they're very observant.
They're observant.
Mhm.
You touched on routines. How important and what type of routines are we talking about?
Well, again, I'm not going to specify for every household, right? Every household has their own thing. It's specific to what you're looking to do, but I really believe morning routines are important. Your bedtime routines are important. Sleep is important, not only for young kids, but also for teenagers. The developing brain needs sleep. I think you need to have routines for your dinner time. If you can't have it together, there has to be rules and regulations around technology when you're doing that. I think academics is always important, but then also you need to be outside. You need to play. You need to have extracurricular activities. I think we need to set those routines with our kids. Um, Again, if you're not doing it, they're not going to either.
Yeah.
If you're lying in bed and scrolling, which I'm going to admit, I have this horrible bad habit sometimes to do because that's my only time that I'm downplaying it. I've
Yeah.
actually started saying, okay, I'm going to watch a show or an episode of something rather than being on my phone. I'm really trying to just keep like where my kids and all of our technologies outside of our bedrooms. I'm trying to do that same thing.
The sleep and I mean, teenagers are constantly scrolling till 2 a.m. You hear all sorts of parents saying, my kid's on their phone till 2 a.m. scrolling, and likely they're on social media, TikTok, Instagram, whatever it is. So how is that, would you basically say that that's society because that's what they're watching and that's another form of judgment making them feel worse? Like, what is that whole, how is that affecting their social behavior, their mental health?
Okay, well, I'm gonna back up a little bit before you do that. Why is your phone in their room at 2 a.m.? Where are these adults who like? It makes me so angry. Aren't you the parent? Why is your child's phone in their rooms? You need to create technological laws and rules in your households, not
Yeah.
just for your kids, but for you. Because even this societal part of you scrolling or them scrolling, your judgments are coming out from that. Yes, if they're scrolling till 2 a.m. and they're seeing society like this and they're seeing so, yes, they are creating their own insecurities and they are creating their own judgments biased from what you are going to guide them from. But why is there like the question isn't why social media and that why are they having their phone in their room at 2 a.m.? I pay the bills unless the kid is paying their bills. I mean, look, that's a great thing. If your teenager is on top of it, then they will not be on their phone at 2 a.m. If your teenager's on top of it, they're not going to be on. But if they're not, where is the adults in this household? Again, we are going and blaming a teenager. I'm a 47-year-old woman. This is a 14-year-old kid. 16, 17, I don't care, under 18. Why are they having a phone in their room? I'm not talking about school here. We're at home now. So let's go back to this. Okay, because I know social media and technology is such a conversation. It's really simple, guys. I don't believe kids should have phone in the schools. Great. We're doing that. We're getting there. That's wonderful. But they get their phones back after they go it. So who's guiding them for those 8 to 12 hours after they get out of school? Addiction, taking the candy away, pulling the car away, whatever you're trying to do to create a better place for this social media or technology, whatever, is like comparison to all those things that I just said. But you
Yeah.
hand it back to them right when they go home. Or they're walking and parents are working. Nobody's giving boundaries and guidances. Just because for 8 hours in school they don't have it, you really think they're not going to be on it for 8 hours afterwards? I'm sorry. We are masking this with a band-aid, and it's going to be ripped off, and they're going to have no guidances as adults. The other problem of don't give them technology in school, don't give them computers, don't give them phones before they're a certain age, don't do all, okay, but then we're going to be left behind from the rest of the world. Just so you guys all know, we're going to be so behind. We're not resolving the problem. We're just
Yeah.
masking it. We're just putting Band-Aid on it. We're putting the Neosporin on it, and we're saying, hey, we're going to fix it for the moment. You guys haven't fixed the problem. You need to give them boundaries, guidance, regulations, and set it for them in every aspect of their life. Whether it's school, whether it's at home, whether it's with their friends. Why aren't you checking their phones?
Mm-hmm.
Why aren't you looking at their messages? Again, I am not trying to speak to every demographic here. I know there are parents who are working super hard and kids need their phones, but there will be a 10-minute span of the day to be like, hand me your phone. Let me see what's going on. So that piece of it is, okay, they're scrolling till 2 a.m. Why is the phone in their room? I am starting my kids, they're 8 and I know everyone's going to, I always get backlash for this. They have phones. My kids have phones. My daughter is going to be 10 years old this year. She has a smartphone, but guess what she uses it for? To get in contact with me when she's at dance, because she is there till 8, 9 o'clock. To text message with her group of dance friends so they know which classes they need to go to WhatsApp with her cousins. So she has relationships because we all live far. To have an email so she can figure out what her theater group needs her to do, these are advanced technological things that she's going to need to know as she grows up. She has no social media. She will not get it till she's 16 years old. She hates me for that because her friends have it. And I'm like, I'm sorry. You want to see something on social media? I will show you on my phone. You will not have it on your phone. Now, my son has his phone. He's 8, but he only plays games on it.
Yeah.
He tries to text his cousins, but they don't respond back. So, and then he does it with his grandparents, like his nanny, my mom. She, texts him. My cousins, my aunts text him. He has it for those things. He will not get social media till he's 16. There will be no TikTok. They love Spotify. Both my kids are musically loved, so they love listening to music, which I'm totally fine with. They are not allowed to watch YouTube and YouTube Shorts. There is no YouTube Kids in my house. If there's something they want to watch on YouTube, which for some reason my son loves watching other people play video games. I don't understand it.
Oh my God. And my kids love watching other people make things
Yeah,
like Play-Doh.
yeah,
I'm like, why don't you just do it yourself?
that's what, and they do. There is a time frame for that. And then my kids have also time frames for when they're on digital. There's a big problem with Roblox. I get it. I get that. I understand it. Video games, all that. But I'm not going to stop them from it. You know what they're going to do? Their computers are going to be sitting on the kitchen counter. I'm going to be working here, and I'm going to be listening to what you are doing. And you are going to be having all the blockades. I go in, I put all the blocks in, I take care of all of that. Everyone's like, oh, well, you have help. I work a lot. I am tired, but I still am going to have the safety for my children. That is my job as the adult. So they're going to have that, but they're going to learn what the boundary is. So what is the phone? An unnecessary tool.
Yeah.
It is an unnecessary tool. It is not connected to my hip. It is there for the needs that I need it, and then it is put away.
Now
That
tell
is
me, there are so many there's so many kids that are already 15, 16, 14
right.
on their phones at night, and yeah, it's hard to break that habit, and these kids will act out, so parents get scared to do that. What are some tools that parents can use such that that doesn't happen and they're able to remove that phone now? Like, habits have already happened.
I'm really mean about this.
You can be mean. I'm good with mean.
Okay. So if your kid's an alcoholic and is doing drugs, you're just going to say, "Oh, he's going to act out and I'm just not I'm scared of it." What the hell is wrong with you people? Sorry, I don't mean to yell. I'm like, if you think your child has a problem, be the parent and adult and remove it. And if he's
Yeah.
going to act out, you're going to hold him, you're going to caress him, you're going to be there for him, but you're going to say, "I'm not going to let you get this addiction." They're going to act out, they're going to scream, they're going to yell. I'm sorry, I was a teenager, I didn't have a phone, I still did that. I didn't have a phone when I was growing up. And I'm
True.
going to tell you, you can ask my mom the
You used to pull each
amount
other's hair.
and she was like, "You stuck it." Okay, I stuck out of the house, and my girlfriend, I blame her always for it. But we had arguments. I threw things at the door. I think my brother had his door taken off. There were no phones in those days, but my parents were like, "No." So if your kid has an addiction and he has other things other than the phone, you're going to just say, "No, I'm going to not let him act out." Come on.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's a bullshit excuse at this point. We see a societal problem with adults and children being addicted to scrolling on their phones. I'm not saying social media. There's multiple things they're addicted to, okay? We talk about porn, we talk about YouTube, we talk about pedophilia, we talk about video gaming. All of that is an addiction if you're doing it consistently at a point where you don't have control. And if you remove the item from it and there is a breakdown emotionally, mentally, and physically, that is an addiction. So we're just going to say, "I don't want to have an argument with them."
Yeah.
I don't, that's an excuse. I'm sorry. And that's a crap bullshit excuse to me.
So tell me about these, we as parents, and this is more like, I think more of the younger kids where we see Netflix documentaries on, you know, the parents didn't notice the child was, doing whatever or getting ideas of either suicide or
Right.
I should say either taking their own life or, you know, going out there and, the violent
Right. Doing things that
crimes,
you didn't think was coming.
And so I just remember that my son started playing Roblox around that time, and I remember that, like, every second he was playing Roblox, like, I was sitting there, like, watching like a hawk
Right. Oh,
because
I
you're like, "Oh, maybe my child's like that Netflix documentary, and maybe this is happening." So, what are some red flags that we as parents need to look out for in our kids such that we're not worried about these things?
Okay. So first, if your kid comes and tells you something, listen to them. "Mom, this is what I heard on Roblox," or "This is what I saw," or "This is what I'm seeing on Fortnite," or, I don't know if every parent does that. My kid comes and tells me everything, but I've also created that relationship with him that, I need to hear this. Secondly, like you said, listen to what they're doing. Pay attention. Open your eyes. Okay. Thirdly, if you're still not seeing that, right? Okay. And I'm going to talk first on video gaming, and then I'm going to talk about AI because these are two different things. One of the things that I have seen, and I actually just have to tell you, I have multiple friends who are in the video gaming industry. So I have a lot of conversations with them who have created Fortnite, who have told me the downfalls of Roblox, who have told me what to watch for. I also listen to a lot of these social media people who are doing these things. And you have to be prevalent to what you see your child doing. So as they play Fortnite, you start seeing first an addiction piece to it where you remove it and tell them to turn it off, and it's a blow up. There's a problem there. Just
Okay.
we're going to say that if you've said you have an hour or you have 30 minutes and it's turn off time, and you keep hearing the 5 minutes, and then you turn it off and you get a blow up, you've got a problem. Just downright, okay? We need to rethink the whole process for this. And it could not be just because Fortnite is a problem or the video game is a problem. It could be there's a piece of addiction coming in, like they can't turn it off. Secondly, these are violent games. There's a lot of Roblox games that are violent too, and I've gone into them and seen what my kids are doing. And I watch it. There's one that my kids are like, we really want to play this because our friends are playing it. I'm like, I'm sorry, no. There is a no. You play it, there is not going to be a game anymore to play. There is a no. Because when you see something, the brain sees something over and over, and I'm simplifying this, over and over again, I'm not going to give you guys medical terms. You will do it. You will start acting that way. You will start doing those things. You will start feeling those things. Like anything else, if they see porn, they will act out that way. If they do it multiple times, then they will see violence that way. If they see people killing each other or committing suicide in these games, they will want to hear and understand it. So you have to look at something and say, what are they doing that you see that? So if you feel like your child is becoming reclusive and going inwards and not having communication with you anymore and just sitting in their room, but the other part is you need to go to your child and communicate with them. Keep listening to them. Let them emotionally come out and talk. But if you see that so much, there's something there. Don't keep saying, oh, they're just locked in their room on their... Go and talk to your kid. Yeah. So these are a few things that are just basics, right? You're just going to see that. More than that, you're going to have to look into your own household to see what's happening, right? I can't tell each child, but addiction issues, being reclusive and being inwards and not talking to you. Also, if you see more and more a little bit, like my kid was playing Fortnite for a little bit and I had to shut it down. He started saying some bad words and I'm like, where are you learning this from? And then I realized it was from the game. And I was like, no, we're done. You are not allowed to play this. That's it. You play it and I hear it, it's gone. Music is another thing. A lot of these games have musically inclined pieces to them, which are old school musics, which I loved. But then I started hearing things that I was like, okay, you can't hear that. That's not appropriate. But these are the things you're going to have to keep hearing what your kids are saying. And instead of just getting mad at them, have a conversation with them. Where did you hear that? What do you like about that? Why would you say that? But be quiet and listen to them. Don't fix it. Listen to what they're saying so you can understand where it's coming from also. And then you can give them the right guidances behind it, right?
How do you create that safe space to communicate, have those conversations?
Start anywhere. Anywhere, anytime. I tell a lot of adults, I don't say parents, I say a lot of adults, I say start with one question to launch this conversation. It is the easiest question. Hey, I'm going to say my daughter's name. She's going to kill me. Imara, what can I do? What can mommy do to make your life easier? What's one thing I can change to make your life easier and make your life productive and more better? Because I'm not putting it on her. I'm putting it on me. What can we change in this household to make your lives different or better or easier? Whatever word you want to use. Because you're doing it for them. Make them think this conversation isn't about them getting in trouble, them being reprimanded, them being judged. Make it about how do we make your life so amazing? And it could be really dumb where they're like, well, let me have access to social media. Well, okay, let's talk more about that. Let me know. Give me more about why you think social media is going to make your life easier. Again, I'm giving you a dumb topic, but that it could be that much. Start small, build bigger, do it daily, do it 2 times a day. Don't ask them the questions, how was your day? How was school? They're going to be like, we all know those questions don't work. I can give you a number of parenting experts who say that. Oh, that's another word I don't like.
One of my friends, it's funny, she has a teenage daughter and she wanted a phone. And I mean, they didn't give it to her until much later. But when they were going to give it to her, they actually did something interesting. They said, present us with the pros and cons. And she actually did a whole presentation on this. Like it was so interesting on to convince both parents
Yeah.
why she should get this phone. So I thought that
I'm
was
going to tell
interesting.
you, I hope they gave her a phone because she was
They
smart
did.
enough to do that.
They did
If
actually.
she didn't do that, then I would have been like, don't give her the phone. But because she did that, she was intelligent enough and she's sensible enough to be like, I have this place that I can do this. And they can have more conversations with her to give her the right guidances behind the phone.
Yeah.
Good for her.
So where do you see I want to ask you so many things about it. Where do you see mental health in kids in the next 10, 15 years? Where do you see kids headed? Where do you see society headed? Because I mean, the reality is we can scream it at the top of our lungs. A lot of times, like you said, the kids are mimicking the parents' behaviors. And I don't know how much those can change. And I don't know how many parents are actively going to try to change their behaviors. So where do you see this headed if we don't make these changes?
I always write notes down. And as you're speaking, I was thinking, I don't really even want to say this.
Oh God, that's not a good
Um,
sign.
so the question is, where do I see it moving?
Yeah.
I don't think our kids or our youth, because we're talking about a generation, multiple generations here. I don't think they have any trust in us. I mean, I hear that all the time, just so you know that. I ask kids all the time, what do you feel about the adults in your life? They're like, they don't give a crap about us. They don't
Why
think
is
so.
that? Why is that?
Because
What?
we're blaming them for all their problems. We're putting the blame on them. And if you keep putting the blame on someone, they're not going to like you. I'm sorry. That's human nature. They're human beings. They're not dogs, guys. They have feelings. So you constantly tell them they're wrong, they're going to be like, then you can go to hell because we don't really care. That's the problem. So if you want to entrust someone, like if you want to trust someone and you want to bring their trust into your life, then you have to listen to them. You have to listen to them. It's not just communication and talk to them. You have to listen. Listening is an art. It really is.
Yeah. Yeah.
And human beings don't know how to do that. Because if we knew how to do that, I don't think the world would be at the level of hate that it's at right now. And we're really showing that to our youth. That my opinion is my opinion and it's the right opinion and your opinion sucks and it doesn't matter. You have to create a trust and then you have to honor the person. Again, we're not doing that because our opinions don't matter.
Right.
And then on top of that, you have to stop minimizing their feelings, which we do. Kids think if they say what they want to say and voice it, they're always going to be told they're wrong and they need to go stay in their space, which is what we've done generationally.
Right.
But this generation doesn't want to stay in their space. They want authenticity, they want authority, and they want advocacy, but they also want you to, I'm looking for the word and it's not popping up in my head, but they want you to fess up to your own mistakes. That's
Hmm.
the word I'm looking for. It's like they're like, you did wrong. They're not saying cancel culture. That I think came from a bigger picture. They're saying you did wrong, admit you're wrong, and let's move on from it. So, how do parents do this to start? Listen immediately. Don't give solutions. Just listen. Avoid judgment in your language. Well, why would you do that? So, why would stop putting the blame on them, right? And then again, ask questions like, so what was the hardest part of that situation? Make it how they can explain to you. I think the next generation is integrally going to demand mental health. They're not going to think it is a side thing. They're going to want it. They're going to make it a normalization in their lives. They're not going to separate it from their lives. It's going to be part of their thing. Which I will tell you, what is it? The millennial generation and the millennials are going to do it, but the ones above them are still not accepting it
Right.
as a norm. They're not. Um, Resilience won't mean pushing through for them. is actually going to mean balance. It's going to mean boundaries, and it's going to mean communities will start listening to one another. But we have to help them lead the way to do this. And if we don't do that, the change is going to be really slow. I mean, it's the same way of saying, I wrote it down here. I said, the challenge and the stigma in ways our generation didn't do it. And if we don't help them lead the path, then we're not here for it.
I love that. Dr. Z, I might have to come and see you. At this rate, we conversed, just so our listeners know, before we started. And, I don't know. I was like, we should have recorded half the stuff we were talking about. But thank you so much for your time today. Like, that was inspirational, but also eye-opening, I think, for a lot of healthcare providers to push, talking about this with their patients as well, and parents, caregivers, teachers, everybody to start opening that conversation. So I thank you for that. Can you tell our listeners where they can find you? Because I know so many people will want to.
Yeah. Before I say to come find me, I want to really be open-minded to tell adults in the world, look, we have a lot of people out there that give advice. There's a lot of people who give great advice. I don't want to be a parenting expert. I was saying that earlier. I despise that word. I went to school to work with the youth, to advocate for the youth. I want to work for the kids and with the kids. I want the kids to listen to this. I want them to know, young girls and boys between the ages of 6 to 28, that we are here to hear you and create a world for you. Actually, I take that back. We're here to create a world with you. And adults, please take with a little bit of strand all these advices you hear out there and go to your children and go to your students and go to your young youth that you're working with before you implement something you have heard out there. Because everybody's situation is different. Every household is different. Every school is different. Everybody's life is different. And not one shoe fits everything. So listen to this next generation, hear what they have to say before you put barriers on them and demands on them that are actually going to be hurting you later on. And them. So everyone can find me. All of my platforms is Dr. It's DRZEE_MD. I'm on all the platforms. I'm not really on Twitter that much, but I'm it's social media again, guys. It's the same thing. But I have my website. Definitely email me, DM me on Instagram or TikTok, and I will get in touch with you. I'm really, really good about talking to people. I really love that. It's just something that I like to do. If you're looking for something of peer-to-peer counseling for the Listen to the Kids program, we have that available for schools, for coaches. What we do basically in the Listen to the Kids program is we go into your network or wherever you are, we bring the kids together, we create the questions that you are trying to look to bring your classroom or your school into a better level for, and then we create the guidances for the adults based off what the youth is looking for. There could be bullying issues at school, there could be student council issues at school, there could be academic issues, there could be anything where we create this peer-to-peer counseling within the schools and in sports programs. We've done it at schools, we've done it actually at homes too, where we sit and we actually listen to the kids to help the adults guide for it. And Listen to the Kids really is a platform for how do we actually listen to the next generation and then give the adults the right guidance so we can create a world with them rather than for them.
I love that. Thank you so much, Dr. Z.
You're welcome.
Thank you, listeners and viewers, for tuning in. If you want to catch more episodes of Uncover Your Eyes, make sure to follow or subscribe on your favorite podcast platform and on YouTube. To learn more about me, follow me on Instagram at Dr.Meenal Agarwal. Until next time, keep those eyes uncovered.